Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video of psychological theater. And today I would like to take advantage of this beautiful morning. The sun is being very generous, and there's a slight breeze which is very pleasing to the senses in many ways, and overall it's a good time to talk about something which requires your calmness, your attention, and there's a little noise of the traffic behind me as well, which is coming and going, but we would still try to make this happen. What I would like to share today is something about the act of learning. Okay, so in general or generally, learning is more like a process of gaining knowledge. You read a book, or you go through an experience, and you attend a class, you watch a video, whatever, and then from that you learn. And what do you mean when you say you learn from that is that you gain knowledge about whatever you were watching or reading or trying to learn about. Now, what I would like to show today, or try to bring your attention to, is a different kind of learning where the whole point of learning is to observe very cleanly. Now, how does this kind of learning is different from the usual learning where our intention is to learn by gathering knowledge about the subject? Well, when you are learning through the act of observation, for example, the intention is not to create memory about it. The whole point of learning is an honest observation. In an honest observation, you are not creating memory as you usually do. The mind and the brain and the senses are totally observing and nothing else, which is why there is no movement, if there is no activity of the mind during that point when you're just observing. And when you're just observing, you will see that whatever you're observing, whatever is it that you're observing about, or you are observing, then that thing tries to tell about itself, whatever it is. If you're observing the leaves on the branches of a tree which are moving because of the beautiful breeze or a light wind, then the movement of those leaves actually is telling you about how the wind is blowing, how the leaves are feeling about it, and everything. But the observation must not be disturbed by the activity of the mind. When the observation is not disturbed by the activity of the mind, there is a instantaneous learning process. And I would like to clarify again, in this learning, your intention is not to create memory. You don't want to memorize what was happening there. Okay? I don't mean you wouldn't remember completely what happened in the evening or the next day during your observation, but the memory of that event will be very, very slight, very normal, very simple, not in too much detail. because the whole point was not to create memory, but just to be totally observant during that present moment. So through this video, I would like to distinguish between these two types of learning. When the mind is active during the act of observation, then the mind creates memory. And this is one way of learning. When you have to memorize something, when you're preparing for a test, then this is the kind of learning you would want, where you want to memorize your history lesson, for example. Memorize a poem. But when you need to learn about something new, for example, about which you don't know anything about, then your honest observation is your best friend. And because the honest observation requires that the mind shouldn't be active, it should be in a state of passive observation. That's why you would see that you wouldn't be making a lot of memory of this. If you would try to do this, then the first thing that would happen to you is the way you are aware of the muscles of your body, you would also start to be aware of the muscles of your brain, okay, or the activity of the brain, let's put it like this. And as you stay observant, you slowly start to become aware of the center, of the point of, how do I say, the key center of the, or let's call it the ego center, the self center. So that center will be also felt as the intensity of the observation increases. So the whole point of learning through awareness is that that center should not move, because the moment that center tries to do something, the moment your ego center tries to do something, tries to be active, then the act of observation in the present stops. So you have to start by becoming aware, then becoming aware of the movement of the brain, then to reach a point where you are aware of your center of the self or the center of the ego, and then be totally aware of that center. That very awareness of the center brings the center to rest. And when the center is at rest, you would see your observation goes through a dramatic change. Then the way you're looking is very, very different. So these would be the key steps of this kind of learning, and the amount of memory formed in this learning is very low. So again, I would request, first try it and see how this learning through awareness or observation works. And if you would start to live like this, if you would start to spend your days like this, then you would even see that the center of the ego or of the self, which is no longer working because you want to stay in a state of observation, in a state of learning through observation, as the center is no longer used, it starts to disintegrate. Just as any other body part starts to stop working, as even in evolution we have lost the function of some of our body parts because we have stopped using them, okay? So, but the key is that with observation of the center becomes quiet. The moment you are not observing the center is very active, and it's not an easy job. It will be very tricky to execute it, to do it, but with the right honesty, I would say, with the right honesty and with the right quality of love to investigate, not this kind of emotional love or some illusionary love, but the love for investigation, the love you have because you want to test what is being said, then if you do that, you would see how observation is changing the state of learning, the state of presence, so as to say. So please try it, and I hope you will also benefit from it. And if you have some questions, then again, please write to me or please leave a comment. Thank you.